Hi! In this video I'm going to show you things about the user interface which you might not know about. It's basically going to be a scatter shot. Whenever I notice something which I haven't talked about yet, I will talk about it. It is not really intended for anyone in particular. It will probably most help new players, but old players might get something out of it, because I'm going to try and talk about all the different hotkeys and such. So if I start with all the heads-up display elements, let's start with the player panel. You can see here the player panel. You can expand and contract. Now if I click on me, it will select and center the commander. If you click on an enemy, if you've scattered them out like I just did, it will zoom you to their last known location, which is very useful sometimes. It will prefer the commander, but if you've only scouted out, say, a building or one of their scouting units, it will zoom you to that location. But once it's gone to the commander, I think it goes to the first known location and then that's it. Either way, that's good. Now if you expand, if you're on dynamic alliances, here's where you can see who's allied to who. You can accept and decline any offers, and you can also create your own offers. Now the economy panel, this is something I didn't realise. You can see the net metal income and net energy income. If you click on it, it will turn it to an efficiency. If it's above 100%, you're gaining more than you're using. If it's under, you're using more than you're gaining. We'll get these doing something, just because I want to. Right, next up we have the solar system panel. Now if you click on a planet, it will take you to a medium zoomed out look at it. If you click on the solar system itself, it will take you to an overview of the solar system where you can see the orbital units. It's quite handy in orbital games. Now if you expand this panel, there's a number here which shows how many metal spots are on this planet. This is a mod which you won't normally see unless you have the mod enabled. It's called Better System View. But here is where you can activate your super weapons, say Halley's or the Annihilator. So if you have these options built and ready to go, there will be buttons here, and that's how you activate them. Next up we have the picture-in-picture. If your graphics card can handle it, which it probably can, as you're a PC gamer, you can click the secondary view into the game, sorry, and it's a fully interactive view, and you can do a couple of things with it. So if I capture main view, it will capture the same view as the main one, and you can issue orders the same as you can in the normal view. It's quite powerful, so you could use it to keep an eye on, for example, your nukes or the enemy's base or whatever you want. I'm going to pin it to the opposite side, so when I move about on the main view, it will automatically scroll on the opposite side. So you can see just about everything at all times, nearly. There's a couple of areas you can't see at the same time. You could also tell it to follow alerts, which is what I'm going to set it to right now, because I'm about to talk about the alerts. I can force an alert to pop up by reclaiming the commander, which will damage him a little bit. So you can see an alert popped up which zoomed the pip to it, and when you hover over an alert, it opens up its own little pip, and if you click on it, it will zoom to that location. So that's the handy thing about, did I say pip? I meant alerts, sorry. That's the handy thing about alerts. If I click here again to get rid of this picture-in-picture, we don't need that anymore. If I stop him reclaiming, tell him to repair. Something else you might not know about is the chronocam. So if I close this pip, this is a live view, well, a live recording of the game, so you can scrub back at any time. Much like PVRs or DVRs or whatever you call them. So you can see what happened earlier, and you can look at somewhere you weren't looking at the time and see what they were doing. So if he was building stuff, I could see what he was building. It's quite a powerful feature, especially it's most useful in live games when dealing with orbital. Say for example you send a load of orbital radar satellites to a planet to scout out. They die instantly, but they will be there for a second. You can zoom back to when they died and still get a full picture or a full snapshot of what was there at the time. Very handy stuff. You can ping. So if you have teammates, everyone can see the ping. Enemies can't see the ping, obviously. And spectators can see the ping as well, although you can't see their pings, because obviously that would be pretty bad. Right, I think that's just about all the interface things sorted. I know there are a couple more. So if I have all these, well, normally you either select attacking units or building units, and which one you select depends on which you have the most of in your little dragged out box. But if you hold control, it just selects everything. Incidentally, when you hold control, you can see how far everything can shoot that you have selected. And you see at the bottom left there's the selection bar. If I left click, say on these ants or these tanks, it will select just them. So if I select everything again, if I hold control and select the tanks, it will remove them from the selection, so you just have the other items. And also if I have, say, one tank and I double click, it will select every single tank on the map, even these units which weren't on the screen. So they're nice little features. What else can you do? Well, you can use the little X as well to get rid of him without holding control. So I use it in particular for selecting all my air. So if I've got an attack incoming, select everything, select the air, which obviously fireflies aren't very useful. Sort out the threat and whatever. That's all the heads-up display stuff that I can see. So let's get on to commands. There's a lot of things you can do with commands. Say if I select this factory, I can tell anything that comes out of the factory to patrol this little area here. So if I tell it to build something, any unit produced by this factory will follow this command, which I'm showing you by holding shift, incidentally. I'll talk about that in a little while. So you can see this unit is now infinitely going to patrol here because I told it to patrol from the factory. Most commands have an area equivalent, so from this factory I'm going to tell it to patrol here. So when I build stuff now, it will do an area patrol. What area patrol means is it will select a random location in here, go to it, then select another random location and go to it. This is best illustrated with a lot of stuff. So if I tell them all to patrol here, that's just a way to cover the area. So they'll all randomly move. It's quite nice. Incidentally, if you're on a very large game with thousands of units, this will lag the game quite significantly, so try and avoid doing that if that happens. So if it's past the 20-minute mark on a large game with multiple planets and loads of people, it's probably best not to do this if you can help it. What else we got here? Right, let's go for build commands. So I can set up multiple commands holding shift, which is what I've done here. I held shift, clicked on patrol, then you can give multiple commands. You can do this with build orders as well. So if I select something, hold shift, so tell it to build that, then that, then that. I built these energy plants with an click and drag, so an area build. Energy plants build in a line, Stuff like energy storage builds in an area. So if I try and illustrate it again with the commander, you can build point defense in a line by clicking and dragging. All the time holding shift, you can then select more things to build, like these will build in a line. They'll build in a line. Metal storage will build in an area. One final thing to note about area commands is that metal extractors, they will automatically snap to the points, because obviously we can only build on the points. And once he gets there, once he gets within the circle, he will pick out the best route to build these mechs efficiently. What else do we have? Oh yeah, we have all these commands here. Most have an area equivalent. Attack also has a special attack move. So if you attack, move to a point, they will attack anything in their path. So they will stop and attack until they get to that point. There's also an area attack command where they will attack anything in the area, and when they're done they'll just stop. Sometimes normally they'll end up in the middle. What else do we have? The Uber Cannon. The Uber Cannon is the alternate fire for the commander. It is useful for destroying a large amount of enemy units. It does no damage to your own units, but all of those units there, if they were enemy units, would be destroyed. It uses a little bit of energy, but you can also use it to clear out trees by starting a fire, and if you start it in a dense enough area, the fire will spread, which is useful early on because you need to reclaim trees normally to build stuff, which takes time, which is very important early game. Something else you can do to get rid of trees is to reclaim them. So if I already have a combat fabricator, you can reclaim trees with an area command again, or you can just tell it to reclaim the whole map, and that will find the closest at any given time. One thing to note about reclaiming trees: normal fabricators, normal tier 1 fabricators will reclaim. You get 2 metal per tree. Combat fabricators, you get 12 metal per tree. This may change in the future, but it's something to bear in mind, particularly as the next patch, these combat fabricators are a lot cheaper, so you might actually want to use them at some point. Quite rarely, but maybe. Something I forgot to mention with factories is continuous build. There's a little button here. Normally when you build a unit, it will build the one unit and then that'll be it, that'll be the queue gone. So he's out of the queue and now there's nothing building. But if you click on continuous build, anything you queue up will infinitely go. So it will build a skitter, then an inferno, then a skitter, then an inferno until the end of time. Except when you first do it, it will build 2 skitters, just because that's a little nuance of the way it works. But now it will build an inferno, then it will build a skitter, then an inferno. And you can avoid this queue by holding control. So say I wanted to build a fabber, I hold control and click once. It's priority queues the unit, so it doesn't go into the infinite queue and it builds it straight away. So you see, once this is built, it will no longer be in the queue, it will disappear from the bottom in about 4 seconds. So that's gone now. It's handy. Something I haven't said about yet is assisting. I'll get a commander over here as well. You can assist out units, where you can tell fabricators and the commander to assist factories or other fabricators. Say for example, this vehicle factory is building at 15 metal a second. Normal fabricators build at 10 metal a second, but you can tell it to assist the factory to pump out the unit quicker. So combined, the unit has been produced at 25 metal a second. It's very handy if you've got something you really want to pump out quick. The commander builds at 30 metal a second, so he's particularly good at assisting factories. Although, if you've got something better for him to do, probably building energy, it's probably a better idea to do that. You can also tell, so if I tell this commander to build a load of energy, I could tell these fabricators to assist him, and they haven't directly been told to create energy, they've just been told to assist him. So if I stop him doing what he's doing, tell him to build that, they'll go ahead and do that. It's quite a powerful feature. It's a very powerful feature, you use it all the time. What else do we have? I think that's about it. If I go back to my list quickly, area equivalent. Oh yeah, neat little tip. Enemy teleporters, you can use them if they still have them activated. Which is, so if you're having all these units, say this is an enemy teleporter, if you want to use it and it's still active, like this is not active, obviously. But if they have it as active, so you can see the little light, if you want combat units to go through it before destroying it, you can tell them not to fire. Then they will happily use it as long as it's powered. So it's always a good idea to disable with the energy orders, so that enemy units can't use your teleporter. It can make some quite cheesy strats. If you, for example, just manage to get your commander out and then they follow you and kill you anyway, it's quite funny, to be honest. What else do we have here? Something you might not know if you're a new player, you can build tier 1 and tier 2 metal extractors on the same spot. You can build them in any order, so you can build the tier 2 then the tier 1, although it's much more efficient to build the tier 1 first, and I highly recommend you try and do that. Although in late game, if you're just on a new planet, get some doing both, just because it's easier. What else can we do here? I've shown you Buchanan. Right, you can pause a live game, you can pause a single player game, and obviously you'll be anyone that can resume. Multiplayer you can pause as well, but anyone can resume at any point. So if something's happened and you've got to nip off quick, it's best to tell them, and if they're nice, they will not resume in your absence. If they're randoms, they'll probably resume and kill you, but that's just bad luck. If you're a new player, you can also access the player guide. So if you press escape, you can access the player guide, which will pause the game, which shows you all the basic things you can do. And you can also do this by pressing F1. You can also access this. How about showing you deleting units? If you select units, you can delete them by pressing delete, and that'll pop up saying if you want to destroy them or not. Something I haven't mentioned yet. Say if I get this setting up a load of build commands just for the hell of it. If I tell them to patrol wherever, tell them to attack move here. If I press caps lock, you can see every single command you've issued to everyone when nothing is selected. When you've selected something, you only see the commands for that unit. So he was told to build them, then area reclaim here. A real-time way of accessing this is not having caps lock enabled, just holding shift. So when you let go, it all disappears. Which might be the better way of doing it. Oh, I've just done sticky keys. Go away, sticky keys. Have I got anything else to talk about? The only other things I can talk about really are the function keys. So if I hold shift and F1, it will select every single factory, regardless of whether it's active or not. So I've got some idle factories, so I can show you this one. Shift and F2 will select all idle factories. which is handy if you're away fighting somewhere and you want to queue up the factories you've just built. You can. And Shift F3, F4, F5, they select other random things, which you can find by going into the settings menu, which I'll just do quickly. Units. So you can see all the different commands to select stuff quickly, which you can change to your heart's content. By default, select idle fabbers is F, I believe, but I changed that because I'm using hot build. But yeah, that's about all there is to the user interface that I'm aware of. I probably missed out a lot. If I've missed out anything, please let me know. But I hope you found this informative. I hope I didn't drone on for too long. I see that I really did. 21 minutes. Oh well, if you got this far, well done. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any feedback, please let me know.